So last week we were discussing...
Hey, do you have any Tapatio?
No, not here. Sorry. Last week, Todd, you called in during your bout with the blue flu. And we were discussing the issues of gun control, and in a very ironic twist, that very Sunday there was yet another very tragic and unfortunate mass shooting, this one taking place at a church in Texas.
Yeshvel, what do you got to say to those people?
Good thing that other guy had a gun.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, Todd. Here's the ironic part about that's exactly what we were saying. This guy walked in with a gun and started shooting him up, and what stopped him was another guy with a gun. By the way, the other shooter...
it?
Yes.
Apparently, what you said was, in the end, what stopped him was his own gun.
Well, that's what caused him to die. But what stopped him from shooting up the church was him taking fire. He actually got hit 3 times by a good Samaritan who lived next door, who came out with his rifle. And this guy, by the way, turns out to be a shooting instructor for the NRA. So he was very, very accurate with his targeting and hit the perpetrator 3 times, causing him to drop his weapon and run for his car. And then while driving down the highway, being pursued by the Good Samaritan, who had flagged down yet another Good Samaritan in a pickup truck. So they're now chasing after him at 90 miles an hour. He's bleeding. He calls his father to say he's not going to make it, then takes out a handgun and shoots himself and crashes into a ditch.
You're still driving?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he apparently blew his own brains out. But this was after he had taken 3 rounds, at least one in the leg and one through the side, because he was wearing some kind of body armor. And yet the Good Samaritan was able to shoot him in the side between the plates and got him. And I think that was the round that ultimately caused him to flee.
Man. Okay.
So yeah, shooting is real bad.
I understand. I really, really understand why people believe gun control is an answer, but it would not have stopped this guy.
Well, it's the funniest. I shouldn't say funny. Funny is a poor choice of words. The final bit of irony in this is that he was already diagnosed with a mental condition that should have prohibited him from getting a hold of a firearm.
Was he?
He was discharged from the military, not dishonorably, but he had a
medical discharge?
No, it was for bad conduct.
Okay.
Not the same as dishonorable discharge, because dishonorable suggests that he somehow failed to perform his duty.
No, they go for criminal offenses.
But this poor conduct or bad conduct was because he had physically assaulted his wife and young child, and so they had incarcerated him for 12 months on a military installation. And then somehow the military dropped the ball and failed to upload that information to the FBI database, so that when this guy went to go buy a gun, they did a records check on him. He came back clean. They sold him the firearms.
Okay, now here's the thing. Because, again, we're talking about gun control, which basically only stops criminals. But I don't know if you guys remember this. This was about probably maybe 15 or so years ago when judges would start handing out sentences. You could either go to jail or go to the military. So they were sending criminals to the military. Some of those criminals gave word to their homeboys back in the home, and they would start recruiting gangsters into the military. So there's now actually turf wars in the military with gangs that have joined, and they're doing it because it gives them access to weapons. And they build these connections where you start to get into gun running and all this other stuff. So the reason why gun control doesn't work, and I'm all for gun control if everybody gives up the gun, and I mean every human being on the planet. Until that happens, you're not touching mine. But if everybody gives up their guns, because as long as it's a military, time and time again, you're finding out that a lot of these people are people who were former military, and most of the people who are former military leave with weapons or have more access to weapons after they leave by virtue of having been military. A lot of them get hired by law enforcement, and it is historically been proven that a lot of these people after combat are not right. And they're coming home, and they're hurting people, they're killing people. Some of them are in law enforcement, and they're basically taking out their aggression on the populations they're set there to protect. That happens time and time and time again. So that's when you start to get concerned.
So you're saying disarm all former military people?
No, I'm not saying disarm all former military. I'm saying if you're going to disarm me, then I don't want to have a police agency with authority over me that has these people in it. Or I don't want a military that has that authority with these people in it. Because I could just as easily, I'm telling you, if you go look this up, anybody who doesn't want to hear it, go look it up and find out about gang wars in the military. You will see people tattooed with old gang tattoos and whatnot in uniform. Stars and bars, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
These people are finding shortcuts around gun control. Gun control just won't work.
All right, what do you
will
say
not
there,
work.
Todd? I see you rolling your eyes. They're about to fall out of your head again.
Ugh. Well, this is one of the things this New York Times article came out talking about how to reduce shootings. And this is one of the things that you keep coming up with, and that immediately turns me off when you say gun control doesn't work.
It doesn't.
We can't see. Yeah. You can't just say that. See, does the term gun control inherently mean the removal of all guns?
Okay, so who are you asking? Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking
Okay,
you.
I'm going to answer you based on what I've heard politicians say, and my answer is yes.
So-
they want me to surrender firearms.
You're saying that gun control is synonymous with disarmament.
No, I will not say
Well,
that, but here's what I will say.
that's
No, okay,
essentially
I
what you
did
just
say
said.
that.
That is
I'm going to tell
exactly
you.
what
I'm
you
going to tell
just
you how
said.
I'm making this connection. That is what I believe, but I'm
Okay.
going to tell you how I'm making the connection because they're going to say things like smaller magazines, which is now law in California. They're going to say things like you can't have a pistol grip on a long rifle, which is now law in California. But it keeps escalating more and more and more and more, and eventually it will be to the point where we just don't need guns.
So you're
you
saying
have a gun
it's
that
a
only has
slippery
one
slope.
bullet in it.
He's now
no,
using.
it's not even a slippery slope.
Todd,
it's
how
strategy.
many times can you roll your eyes like that before you get dizzy and fall out of the chair? I'm just kind of wondering.
It's strategy.
Getting
And
dizzy.
all it does is prevent law-abiding people. That's the problem. You're stopping people who legally want to do this because you're going to do one of two things. And this happened after Sandy Hook. The state passed a law that said if you own firearms, it's fine, but you've got to register yourself. If you do not, you are a felon.
Uh-huh.
So they instantly made military veterans, police officers, and other first responders that they went before these councils
Exempt.
and said, we are not. No, they didn't make them exempt.
Oh, okay.
They went before them and said, if you guys pass this law and I don't register, you just made me a felon. And I've been the same person who's been protecting your communities. I'm the same one who's been putting out your fires. I'm the same one who's in the military doing my best to protect and serve my country. You're turning legal citizens into felons.
And would that not be the same thing to be said if, say, we, for obvious reasons, started to crack down on people and their ability to drive crazily into crowds of people, if we started to enhance laws, if we had car control,
It won't
and we
work.
were enhancing the...
How would car control work exactly? Everybody is forced
I'm
to
not
drive
saying
a Prius?
what it is you're going to do,
It's
but
like there's only
then
one car left
what
on
if,
the
say,
planet?
you were required to get a different class of license, and in order to get that, you had to go and do a new test or do a new registration.
Okay.
And if you didn't, you were a felon. Would you
Well, you're
call
not a
those
felon,
people?
but that currently is actually happening
Yeah, that
here
will
in
never
California.
happen.
Yes.
And that's a misdemeanor.
That is currently
But
happening.
two very important facts. One, driving is not a constitutional right. Number one. Okay.
My eyes.
Okay. I'm just look.
It is not a
It is
constitutional.
not a constitutional
there-
right. And two, it is up to the state to administer these tests properly. And if they don't do it, then that's them falling off. And, well, the real number two is there are people that drive illegally.
I like the way you called that the real number 2.
Well, yeah, because that wasn't the main thing, but I forgot what I was really going to say.
No, the number 2. Calling it the.
But that's also your argument over guns
Look,
is that
You don't
gun
stop a
control
criminal
isn't
by
going to
passing
stop
laws.
a criminal. But if
You
there
don't.
are less guns, or
There won't
let's-
be less guns.
like
there
we
will
were
be
saying,
less law-abiding
in
citizens
this
with
in this
guns.
article
Yeah.
by Nicholas Kristof, he goes over a laundry list of different ideas
Pick
about
one.
how
Pick
to
one.
reduce shooting.
Yeah, go ahead, pick one. I want to hear
And
this.
There's a lot of good ideas in here.
Okay, name one.
Say, what if we did more to proliferate smart guns, where
What is a smart gun?
This
It's
is
the same thing as your smartphone.
You're talking about one that actually requires the device to read your fingerprint before you can pull the
yes,
trigger.
there are fingerprints, there are pin numbers, there are bracelets that need to be worn in tandem with the weapon.
Let's back up again, because this guy who just perpetrated these heinous acts on the church in Texas, he owned the weapons legally. You don't think he would put his fingerprint in all those weapons and then be able to pull the trigger?
Well,
how does the smart gun solve that problem?
And that's the issue. We're not going to stop them all.
Okay, good. All right.
Gun
Problem
control's
solved.
not going to stop. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not. But what we're doing isn't going to stop anything. This is the issue. You guys are saying, oh, we're not going to fix anything. Yeah, we're certainly not going to fix anything with our head stuck in the sand, not doing anything to change it.
Yes, but disarming the honest American
one said
law-abiding
that.
public. But that is what they're advocating.
No, it isn't. No one said that. You asked me for
Yet.
one of the
No
things.
one said that
I
yet.
gave you one so far. Yes, there
Okay,
needs to
but-
be
okay,
less
so then-
guns,
so then
I
the question-
believe.
the question that I'm asking specifically
Yeah.
is, how do you stop people who want to violate the law with a firearm from doing it? Because these things are, sure, they're great for law-abiding
Where
citizens.
are they getting the guns?
From the U.S. government, who ships them to Mexico, who sells them back to the people that are selling drugs in the streets.
So you're saying if there were less of these guns going to Mexico and then funneling back into the criminal underground, there would be less shootings.
No, I'm not saying that. Because there are guns that are 100 years old. Well, maybe not 100. Let's say, how old are, actually, they might be. How old is the Mosin Nagant now? It's almost 100 years old, that gun, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, people are still using those rifles.
Okay.
So my point is this. Those rifles were Russian military rifles that found themselves into a market.
So
There
what
are
if
Chinese knockoff of firearms.
another idea? What if we were more stringent with ammunition sales?
It doesn't stop criminals. It does not
How?
stop criminals.
What about-
because
okay.
a criminal's not going to buy the ammo in the first
Well,
place.
yeah.
They're going to go steal
Where are
it.
they gonna get ammunition?
All right, let's think about this for a minute. Let's go back to the days of Prohibition. Okay, they
I have another answer for that
They
question.
outlawed alcohol. All right, so what happened? People turned to making it themselves in their bathtubs.
What?
And then they
What
then they
part
created,
of we're not taking all the guns? Do you not?
Yeah, you're
get?
just taking them from the law-abiding
Yeah, right.
citizens,
Just taking
Joe.
them from the law-abiding
No
citizens.
one said anything about taking any guns.
Oh, my goodness.
Stop going to that well.
Okay, then let's say it another way. We're not going to take all the guns, but we're going to make it harder for people who want to do this legally to do it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
We're not going to take it from you. You can have it, but it's going to cost you $12,000, and you can only pull the trigger once every 3 years.